Okay. So now we were just saying about, we were talking a little bit about when you were in school. So you went off to boarding school when you were 7, and then that linked in, didn't it, to you saying about your friend from school was Peggy and she remembered you, and then you met up with her when she was in London later.
Right.
So just coming back to when you were at school,
Right.
so you were 7 when you went off to boarding school. Tell me a little bit about, I know it was in the foothills of the Himalayas. What was the place called where you went to school?
The place was called Kurseong, and we're a little bit higher than Darjeeling.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Nice waterfall on each side of the school.
Oh.
The school was quite high up on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a trek up there.
Right.
And they also had in addition to the rail link, they also had a road link to up the Himalayas, so you could go by road or rail.
Yeah.
And the way we went was in a little toy train up there.
Okay.
And I think it's, I've seen it quoted somewhere that it's the only train that goes the highest without having a ratchet.
Okay. So that means because it's on like a steep incline.
That's right.
So it doesn't.
It's going up the Himalayas. It's quite a.
Is it still there now? Do you know?
Oh yes,
it's still there
running.
now. Yeah.
It's still running now. Yeah.
Yeah. So what that journey then? I'm just thinking about you being 7 years old. You're quite a long distance from home.
That's right.
And you would have been getting the train with Barbara for the first year maybe.
And then
after being 8 years old, then you used to get the train by yourself.
Yeah, we used to catch it in Kolkata and then used to sleep. It was a sleeper, so you slept on the train with the nuns and teachers in charge. We all had compartments, and the next morning you got to a place called Siliguri.
Okay.
And you all got out. That was a broad gauge train that took us to Siliguri.
What does that mean, a broad gauge?
The rails were a certain width.
Okay.
So you had to change to a narrow gauge.
Oh, I see.
You see,
right.
to go
okay.
up.
Yeah.
So we got out, and you really knew you were going up the Himalayas, because when you got out of Siliguri, the air was really pure.
Was it?
Yeah. And
how did it make you feel?
After the heat of Calcutta, it was really lovely.
Yeah.
We had an English breakfast, and then we got the narrow gauge train, which we affectionately call the toy train.
Right.
And then you travelled all that day, and then you got to Kurseong. And then we had to trek up the hill.
By foot, you mean? You trekked up the hill by foot?
Yeah, went up by foot. Yeah, you could get a little donkey or something to take you up.
Yeah.
We had to walk up.
With all your
luggage? No, the porters took our trunk. We had a trunk each. And your hand luggage. You carried yourself. Yeah. And up the hill we went, and then you come to a flattened bit. That was called a hockey flat. Which always, sports day was held there, and we had a pavilion there. Then you went up the hill again, and you came to another flattened area, which was called the bread and butter flat. And that was adjacent to the refectory, or dining room. And then on the right-hand side, you had the tennis courts. Yeah. And if you trekked up the hill again, you came to an orphanage. St. Margaret's. Okay. And that orphanage was supported by the convent.
Oh, okay. So were the children that went to the orphanage would come to your school? Or they just looked after them? They looked after them.
Probably left on the doorstep, the babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So what was it like? Where did you stay then in the school? Were you in like dorms then?
Yes, there was 3 dormitories. The school had 100 boarders. And there were 3 dormitories. Yeah. There was the kindergarten, and then there was a middle school, and there was the seniors.
Right. Yeah. So you weren't staying with Barbara then, because she would have been much older than you, wouldn't she?
For that year, yeah. In fact, I didn't see much of her, to tell you the truth.
Did you not? So it was a bit like going on your own then, apart from the first.
Yeah, she was head girl as well.
Was she?
Yeah, she was. Proper madam, she was.
Was she? Did you look up to her?
Yeah, I didn't see much of her, you know. She kept to her own friends and what have you.
Yeah. And what were you like at school then?
Yeah. I think I kept myself to myself, really, you know. Mixed in with most people and didn't like games much. I was never very athletic anyway.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
I remember years ago you telling me the story about the time there was no hot water.
Oh yeah, I put that in my memory. We had to write home every Sunday.
Yeah.
And all the letters were censored, going out of the school and coming in the school. So whenever you wrote home, it was read.
Yeah.
And we had coal rationing at the time.
Was that because of the war then?
I expect so, yeah. So and I was trying to find some news to put in the letter. So I said, due to coal rationing, our baths have been rationed. And I didn't know what I'd done, but next morning I was called out of the classroom. Miss Meller, go upstairs this minute. There's a whole tub of hot water. Go and have a bath. And she tore the letter up in front of me and I had to rewrite the letter.
Oh, gosh. What were they like, the nuns?
Very nice. They were nice. Yeah, I can't fault them at all.
Were they English then, or were they Irish? Or
no, they were, some were German, some were Russian.
Oh, okay.
We had a Russian princess, I think. One was.
What, the nun was a Russian princess?
Yeah, mostly English though, I think.
Yeah.
So one or two Germans, yeah.
Did you have a favourite?
Not really,
no.
And we had lay teachers as well.
How do you mean?
The music teacher was lay. She used to be up there for 9 months as well.
Right. Oh, okay.
And the history teacher was as well.
Yeah.
So we had one or two lay teachers besides the nuns that used to stay there as well.
Yeah.
For the 9 months.
What was your favourite thing to do at school then?
I think what it was, to tell you the truth. I can't say I did. Didn't like it much being up there.
No, it's a long way from home.
Yeah.
So how old would you have been when you came out of school and then it was time you came back to England then when you decided to leave India? Did you finish your schooling by that point?
I was, because there at the school you sat for the junior certificate, Cambridge certificate, and the senior Cambridge certificate. I was coming up to the junior certificate, and unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know, India got its independence in 1947.
Oh, okay.
And there was a lot of unrest in the country and a lot of bloodshed.
Oh, dear.
And my dad and mum had decided, that was, when they got their independence, the country was split into two, and they said, that's it. Dad said, right, for the safety of the family, we're going to the UK. But he would come back to India because he had another 2 years to finish on his contract. And that's when they pulled me out of school. I was ready to take my certificate then.
So how old would you have been, like 11 or 12?
13, I think I must have been.
Okay.
And
did you go straight home from school, or did you come back to where mum and dad were living, or did you?
I went back to where mum and dad were living, yes. And then we sailed from Bombay, which was called then, it's Mumbai now, to Southampton in 47,
47. And what do you remember about your relatives then back in India? Because obviously I know you were 7 when you went to boarding school and you spent a lot of the time there, but what about relatives from the family?
Yeah,
do you remember
they were
much
scattered
about
around as well, aunts and uncles, but not actually staying in the same towns as we did, They used to come and visit from time to time, but
So you were 13, you came back from Mumbai to then Southampton, you got the boat. It must have been quite a long journey then on the boat.
I can't remember what it was. It was, I think it must have been about 12, 14 days. Quite a pretty trip through the Suez. Pardon me. And we came on the Strathmore, which was a lovely P&O ship. Didn't know what to expect. And we came into the worst winter.
Oh, this is 1947, wasn't it?
that England experienced. And, you know, full marks to British Rail, they got us up to Yorkshire that night. But
I remember you telling me that. Will you tell me again about that train journey when you were coming from, is it this from Southampton now to Yorkshire?
Southampton, we got to London, we had to change in London and get the train up to Featherstone in Yorkshire. And every station we were stopping because the train said we can't go any further.
Right.
With the snow and the ice.
It snowed for about 3 months, didn't it?
Never stopped. It never. And if it stopped, the drifts were still there. You know, because of the temperature not falling. In fact, the 3 months we were here, it was just snow.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And
I bet you'd never really seen snow like that, had you?
No.
Ever.
Yeah.
Is it weird?
And of course, the things that strike you is our clothes were not adequate.
Yeah.
All the houses looked like dolls' houses.
Oh, here, because everything was so tiny.
Everything was so tiny.
Yeah.
And you wonder why people are rushing. Why are they rushing? Because we all took it at a leisurely pace because of the heat.
Yeah.
And now you're in the cold, and then you suddenly find you're rushing yourself to get warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was quite a train journey, because each station you stopped at, you went into the waiting room. And of course, those days was all coal fires.
Yeah.
You'd get comfortable, and then the guard will come and say, right, we're going to the next station. So off we get in again.
Yeah.
But full marks, they got us up here, yeah.
So you came to be in Featherstone, was it then, in Yorkshire?
Mining little town.
To come and stay with, was it Eunice,
My
did you
aunt,
say?
No, Florrie.
Oh, Florrie.
And I can't remember what his name was. Her husband.
It was on that picture, oh no, she was a little girl on that picture, wasn't she?
I can't remember what her husband was now. Will come to me.
This is your mum's sister?
Mum's sister.
Mum's sister, okay. So you lived in their house?
Conditions were bad, they really were.
What was it like?
There's no central heating, you know. You can imagine, it's absolutely freezing. But they had no electricity. It was gas mantles that lit the rooms. Gas mantles, also gas lighting on the streets as well. Yeah. Because every morning and evening you could see a man with a ladder going, lighting him and putting him
Really?
So that was a job that went out of the window when you got electric.
Yeah.
Electricity. Yeah. That was quite an experience. I was the only one who did the shopping and went out. No one else would go out anywhere.
Wasn't there a time you took Duncan out by yourself? Was that the time?
Yeah. Because my aunt had a little boy about the same age as him. They must have had about 18 months, I think, the two of them.
And so you were about 14?
Went to get fish and chips and took them in a pram. And fish and chips was up on a hill. So up we went, parked the pram, went in to get the fish and chips. And someone said, whose pram is that? I said, mine. The brake hadn't held and it was going down there. And going into a main road. Oh my God, and I chasing down saying, stop that pram. No one did. And I just can't think why. It just got to the curb and stopped.
Wow. You were lucky now.
You think that the momentum of it would have taken it straight into the road, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It just went to the curb and it stopped.
And it stopped. Wow.
God, it took me a while to tell Mum and Dad about that. Nearly killed them.
Jeez.
Why did it stop? I can't see. And if it was the way to the children, I don't know.
It's weird, isn't it?
Weird, really weird. Because you think with the momentum of coming down a hill at that force, it goes straight into the main road. The traffic was heavy as well.
So how long were you in Yorkshire for then?
About 3 months, just over 3 months.
Was it just somewhere because it was the people that you knew that were at home? The people
just
that you
conditions. It wasn't. Dad was ill. His back was bad. He dislocated his shoulder as well. It was just things, and we were so cold. You couldn't get food. You couldn't. Money was useless. Absolutely, everything was rationed.
Oh, you were still experiencing rations then?
Yeah. Oh, yes, it was worse than in the war. They told us.
Really?
We had coupons for meat and stuff like that, and Even coal was rationed, and bread was rationed. And even furniture, you had to have dockets.
Yeah.
Clothes, you had to have dockets or coupons. So money was useless.
Mm.
And he knew he had to go back for 2 years anyway.
Oh, so your dad was still going to go back to India.
So
then he came back with you initially, came to Featherstone.
Yeah.
And then he went back to India for 2 years.
No, we all went back.
You all went back?
All went back.
Wow, okay. So
from
3
Liverpool.
months.
Yeah.
Then you went back.
We sailed from Liverpool. Went back.
Oh.
And then we sailed to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
From Sri Lanka we came up to Bombay.
Yeah.
Then caught the train across India. And that took 3 nights and 2 days. And that trip.
So did you only come back to England for a short while, just while the conflict was going on? And
what
then
conflict?
Went back? Was there not conflict, did you say? Between...
No, it was after the war. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was still going on. But things had settled down a little
so you
bit.
Came away for
Initially it was all up in the air.
Mm.
But it was lovely to land and feel the heat.
I bet.
Yeah. So Dad says we get a taxi and go and get a curry. And I said, no, we don't get a taxi. No, Dad. We'll get a Fate and Gary.
What's a Fate and Gary?
You don't see them in India anymore now.
What is that?
It's horse-drawn carriage.
Oh, okay.
I think you're Lady Muck sitting in. Yeah, so we got that and then had a good curry, yeah. And then caught the train again.
And you went back to school?
Yes, so they decided to put me back into boarding school again, St. Helens, Kurseong. So Mum took me up actually. I'd missed all the schooling now.
Oh, so you'd had 3 months out, at least
yeah,
3 or 4
catch
months
up.
out.
In the meantime, Dad was transferred again. Well, before I went to boarding school, I actually went as a day scholar to a convent in Voltaire.
Mm-hmm.
So he was transferred back to Voltaire, and seeing as I wasn't doing anything in St. Helens, they pulled me out, and I was a day scholar again in Voltaire. That was all right. I didn't mind that being a day scholar there.
Yeah.
But the curriculum was completely different.
To being at boarding school?
The 2 schools just didn't.
Yeah. So you were there then for another 2 years?
So I was there at Voltaire, and Dad was transferred again. So they decided to put me as a boarder in St. Joseph's, Voltaire, where I was a day scholar. And I was thoroughly miserable, I tell you. I hated every minute. They were kind, they were considerate, they were everything. I couldn't learn. Everything was so different. I couldn't eat the food.
Why was it so different? What was so different about
I don't know, comparing the two, I suppose, the 2 convents.
Yeah.
And as I said, the teaching methods were different. And you just can't change people's schools in that age group. No, I don't think. It's very difficult.
Because you must have been, about 14 at this point?
The only thing that was consistent was music.
What you mean, learning music? Or
I learned music because I told you when I went to art, when I first went to the convent in Kurseong, the art teacher looked at me in my drawing and she said, you draw like a crow. So you better go for music.
Yeah.
And I'm tone deaf anyway, so I had to go for music. So I took an exam every year.
And what did you learn?
What? Piano.
Piano, of course, yeah.
So that carried on. And then I came home for the Christmas break. And Mum and Dad could see I was ill. I'd lost so much weight. I hadn't eaten. There people say you can eat anything if you're hungry, but believe me, you can't. No. Yeah.
Maybe because you were so upset as well.
No, it was the recipes and the cooking and different style altogether.
Yeah.
And no. So they decided that was the end of my education.
So you were about 14, 15?
15 then, 14, yeah, 15, yeah, you're right. So they decided to have me taught shorthand and typing.
Yeah.
And that I took to because it's another language and I love languages.
Yeah.
So I seem to excel in that, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that. So I left school with no qualifications, with no fault of anybody's, just circumstances.
Yeah, just timing, wasn't it? 'Cause she'd moved around.
Yeah, just no one's fault. It was just circumstances. I should have stayed there till the end. Barbara did. But there we go.
So then at this stage now, you were about 16 then when you came back to England again?
15, 16 it must have been, yeah. But it wasn't long in England, when I left for New Zealand. Yeah.
So you came back?
Came back and then I went...
Where did you live? See, how did you come to live in London?
In London. We came to an aunt and uncle there.
And whereabouts were you in London?
In northwest London, a place called Colindale. And we stayed with them till we bought the house in Burnt Oak.
Oh, okay.
And we were a lot happier.
Yeah.
Jobs were plentiful in the area. I went out to work straight away.
As soon as you came to England, so you're about 16?
Yeah, went out to work.
And then you met Grandad?
Yeah, but it wasn't here long when I met him, He carried on working while he was away.
So I know you were saying earlier that he'd asked you out, he'd written you this letter, which I know you've shown me, and then you missed each other because he thought you missed each the way you were meeting, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then, isn't it true that he kind of tracked you down because he found you at Mass?
Yes, it was Saturday we were going out and we missed each other. And I thought, well, that's that then, you know. And he probably thought the same. And, but he knew I'd be going to Mass on Sunday.
Yeah.
So he must have stood outside every service to see which one I was going.
And did you go to the last one?
Oh, the last one.
So he stood with through three masses.
With my sister, yeah.
So he was persistent.
And we came out, because he wasn't in the church, he was standing outside. And my sister said, someone's looking at you over the way. Oh God, I said, that's him. Come on, I said, quick.
You're doing a runner from him?
Do a runner. Comes hooping over the road, you know, where were you last night? I could ask you the same question, where are you? And then we discovered we missed each other.
So you arranged to go out again with him?
Yeah.
Can you remember where you went with him?
No, I can't.
No.
Probably to a film or something, because they had a cinema just the end of our road, you know. Yeah, so probably there. Probably sat in the cinema on the back row and couldn't see the screen because of smog.
Why smog? Oh, because it was London, or because of smoking?
Yeah, smog. You had to walk around with a handkerchief on your nose and mouth.
In London?
Yeah, it was all smog. It wasn't a clean zone, you know. We had fires then, didn't we?
Yeah, of course.
Before they banned them.
Yeah.
You couldn't see. It was this yellow fog.
Wow.
You couldn't see the screen of the
cinema. So even inside there was a smog. Of smoking, or of people having real fires everywhere?
Everywhere, everything
was real fires.
Yeah, contributed to it. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And of course if you took the handkerchief away, you could see the black grit.
Really? So then not long after you were seeing each other, you said earlier it was about 3 months that you were seeing each other, you were courting each other.
But he'd already planned to do. And that was already arranged, that he was going to New Zealand.
And tell me again, what was this deal then with Grandad going? It was a £5 ticket.
I don't know if it was 5 or 10, I can't remember. I think it was 5, I'm not sure. Yeah, the government were doing a scheme where you could go out. I know he went to New Zealand, where there was any other countries involved, I don't know. Maybe in Australia too, I don't know. Whereas you went out and you worked for the government for 2 years. But if you wanted to leave, you could break your contract, but then you had to pay the government back for your fare.
For the full fare.
Yeah, full fare.
So how did you afford to do it? Did you do that scheme as well then when you went out to see him?
No, Grandad paid for me to go.
Oh, okay. So he was really keen for you to go.
And my mum and dad gave me the money in case I didn't like it to come back.
Oh. How did they feel about you going, do you think?
They knew I was going to Derek. If I didn't know who I was going to, I think they would have said no, maybe.
Yeah.
But then they're a couple that have travelled as well.
So they were used to it. They knew they were okay with it.
I think they might have said no if I wasn't going to Derek, but they knew I was going out to Derek.
Yeah. Were you nervous about going, Nana?
I wasn't. I was really all keen for going till I stood all by myself at Southampton before I got on the boat, and it hit me then. I'm alone.
Yeah.
And that really hit me then. What have I done?
Did your family come and see you off?
No, I wouldn't let them actually. Peggy came, and she came all the way to Southampton. But the boat was coming from London to Southampton, and it was late coming, and it was winter time. It was dark. And I said to Peg, I don't know when this boat is arriving. I said, you better go home, you've got to get to London. Are you sure, Annie? I said, yeah, sure. And off she went, and I was on my own.
So you got on the boat on your own?
So I didn't, before I got on the boat, we were still waiting. And a gentleman came up to me and he said, excuse me, are you on your own? I said, yes. Well, he must have been seen Peggy go off, So he said, oh, my name is Mr. Reese. My wife and daughter are there. Would you like to come and join us?
Oh.
I thought that was ever so nice.
Yeah.
And she was the same age as me. And her name was Maisie. So I went and stood with them till we were ready to get on the boat. And stayed with them on the boat, really.
Yeah.
Although their cabin wasn't near mine. I was in with 6 other. It was a cabin for 6, and I had 5 others with me. And I got friendly with 2. One was Esme, who was a New Zealand girl, and the other one was Edith.
Okay.
And she was from, where was Edith? Durham way, Edith was. She'd been to New Zealand and worked there and lived there, and then decided to come home. Came home, couldn't settle, and she was going back.
Right. And was it Edith, the one that you made friends with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was with them, and I said, Derek doesn't arrive at Auckland. I'm with you to the YWCA. Because they were going to stay in the YWCA. Well, Esme was going down to Christchurch. Where did she come from? Nelson, I think she came from. So she was going home. She'd come for a trip to the UK. Edith was going to Wellington. So I said, right, Edith, I'm with you. If he doesn't turn up, I'm coming with you to the YW. So she went back to Wellington, knew where I was, my address, and one day there's a knock on the door and it's Edith.
Right.
Oh, Edith. So she said, I went and saw my landlord and I can have my flat back, but he's got a new ruling. He's not letting it to one lady. It's got to be 2. So she thought of me.
Oh.
So that's how I started flatting with her.
Oh. And how long was the crossing then to get to...
Sorry?
How long did the journey take to get to New Zealand?
Oh, don't ask that. That took forever. That really did.
About 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Oh, more than that, because going through Panama Canal, which I hated after Suez, it wasn't very nice. And but not very nice because it was very, very humid. And when it rained, the rain didn't even touch the ground, went up as steam.
Wow.
Our propeller touched the edge of the Panama Canal and got damaged. So we were stuck in Panama for a week.
Oh no.
Till that propeller was repaired, and then off we went. So I think it was more like 5 weeks, I think.
That's a long time, isn't it?
It was a long time. And of course Derek had come to Auckland to meet me, and there was my ship delayed.
So how far was he staying from Auckland then? Had he made quite a journey to come?
Yeah, from Wellington to Auckland.
How far is it?
I don't know how far that was. It was quite a journey, yeah. So he was stuck there, cooling his heels, and I was on the boat. And I just arrived as his holiday was finished.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, so the plan was you were going to have a few days together
in Auckland, yeah.
In Auckland, but then you didn't get to do it.
No.
So you couldn't stay with Grandad, could you, when you were first there? Was there a story you told me about he had nowhere to stay, so you stayed?
Yeah, that's right.
With the landlady.
Yeah, the accommodation was very, very difficult to get, either for single people or married people. Very difficult in those days. And he was trying desperately. I mean, he could get rooms, but he was trying to get a nice one for me. And his landlady said to me, "Have you got anything?" And he said, "No, I haven't." So she said, "Well, you can stay here."
And what was it like?
I was a very shy lady in those days. And you can imagine me going in. How many lads were there? There were, oh gosh, it was a massive house it was. There's 2 lads to each room, and there was a flat above and a flat. I don't know, it must have been about 10 lads in there. And I wouldn't say boo to a goose in those days. Oh, I hated it, I really did. Dad was upstairs, Granddad was Derek, I should say, was upstairs with Norman. I was downstairs, not in the room.
Were you by yourself then?
I had a room to myself, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was massive, I tell you. I had 3-piece suite in there, had a walk-in wardrobe.
Did you?
And that was her junk room she'd cleared out.
I think in my mind I remembered it when you told me that story before. I remember you saying it was a junk room, so I thought it was like a tiny little room that you had, but it was quite a big room.
Yeah, quite a big room. Most of the lads were all upstairs on the next floor, but I had one lad near me, and I think I've forgotten what his name is now. I always remember he had massive feet.
Why do you remember he had massive feet? Because you could hear him coming.
The 2 of us used to share an outside tap there. You could have a wash. Oh dear, oh Lord. I forgot where they came from, Hertfordshire, yeah. Most of the lads, she took lads in from the New Zealand bank of some sort.
Was she English, the lady that ran it?
No, she was New Zealander.
Yeah. She
wasn't a well lady herself, but she did breakfast and weekend meals.
Yeah.
But breakfast was, mince with chops.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how the lads used to eat that. I couldn't eat that, no. Yeah, whatever they wanted, eggs or whatever. It was a big breakfast. She had 2 stoves going. Yeah, they were funny. Do you want any more toast? And they look at their watches to see if they could have another piece of toast. There was an old boy there, and he was really wealthy. His name was Clarence. He'd stay at the poshest hotel.
Yeah.
But chose to stay there because he used to love it with the lads.
How old was Clarence then?
I don't know. He was white-haired. He must have been well in his 60s, 70s, I think. So the boys used to sit around a big table for their meals. And Clarence, Mrs. Martin, which is the landlady's name, and her daughter, I think, and there was a lady who used to help her. We sat at a little table.
Right.
And she always used to say, "Derek and Annie, you coming home early?" We said, "Yeah, when we've had our dinner, we'll come home early." Why? So she said, "Oh, we have a game of cards." She used to love her cards.
Oh.
So Derek and myself used to play against her and Clarence. We always won. Dad was a card sharper, wasn't he?
He was. He used to love it. Can imagine him dealing the cards out now and shuffling the cards.
Yeah. And one day Clarence said to me, he said, he used to work away. I think he worked for something to do with racing. Anyway, he used to work away. This time he was working in Wellington, so he said, "Right." And he said, "I'll take you to work. I'll give you a drop." And I said, "No, I'm all right. I get the bus." "No, I insist taking you." I said, "All right." So we go outside to get in his car, a great big limousine.
Really?
All quiet, nothing doing. He opens the door, and all the lads are all in the back. They heard him offering me a lift.
And they all got in.
All crouched down at the back. Then he dropped me off, and then he had to go around the whole of Wellington dropping
all the boys off.
Yeah, he loved that though, he really did. So off I went to the flat with Edith, but I was very shy, and I was pleased really. She was very kind, she was, yeah. She had a lounge which she only opened if we had a Christmas dance or something. I've lit the fire, she said, and we'll have a glass of sherry before you go. Oh, sweet.
But the rest of the time you didn't use the lounge?
Didn't use the lounge.
Just only at Christmas?
When you had to light fires, there was no central heating.
Yes,
it was blooming cold freezing. In my bedroom, I tell you.
Oh.
Freezing.
So how many other girls were there in the flat? Was it just you and Edith?
Edith. The whole house was made into flats.
Mm-hmm.
And we got knew most of them that lived there. Knew all of them that lived there, really.
Was Edith the one that you would tell me about? She'd only have half an egg and stuff all day, so you'd share an egg.
Yeah.
So trying to lose weight.
No, not lose weight. She was just tight, I think.
Oh, was she?
Saving money to come to the UK.
Sure.
She wanted a holiday in the UK, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
So what were the other girls like in the house? Can you remember?
Well, yeah, there was 2 girls above. There was Edna. Mm-hmm. She was a Geordie. Mm-hmm. And Maris, she was New Zealand lass. Mm-hmm. And we got friendly with them, and we're still friendly with them. One girl's just died. Maris has died.
Yeah.
Edna's not very well.
Where does Edna live now?
In New Zealand.
She's still in New Zealand, yeah.
And after Edith got married, I had to get another flatmate. Mm-hmm. And Edna's boyfriend at the time, he said to me, he said, I'm flatting with a lad, and he's just brought his sister over, mm-hmm. and she's staying on somebody's floor or couch or something. So I said, yes, tell her to come if she wants a place. And that was Pat Burney.
Oh, she was in Cheshire now. Is that her? Yeah. Oh.
I spoke to her the other day. I laughed. It was straight back there. We were a lazy lot. We never cooked, and they cooked upstairs. We always went up there for a meal.
It's nice, that. Who was the girl? I remember you telling me. Was she a milliner? She was a hat maker.
Oh, she was opposite. Oh, she looked lovely when she went out.
What was her name? Do you remember?
Mavis.
Mavis.
Mm. Come and have a drink. Come and have a drink. You know, I didn't know. Thank you. Well, she looked rough. She did of a night, but in the morning she was tip top. Yeah. Model as she
what, because she was drinking?
Oh yeah, she had a whole lot of men in there. I don't know what after the other. Come, darling, have a drink. Oh no, thank you.
Where was Mavis from? Do you know?
Hey?
Where was Mavis from?
She was New Zealand house, I think. She worked for the quite a big company. She was a milliner. Mm. Had some gorgeous hats. Mm. Yeah. Oh, she did makeup well, but don't look at her at night. She looked dreadful. She was Mavis. Who was the other girl up top? I don't know. She had the best flat because she had the view of the harbour from up there. Mm.
What was it like, Wellington?
Very, very pretty.
Is it?
Very pretty, especially with the harbour.
Yeah.
And all the vessels, all the ships coming in. Mm. And usually when you have beaches, harbours and so on, you tend to get hills straight away, don't you find that?
Yeah.
Very, very hilly. Mm. Yeah. We used to have 100-odd steps up to our place. Mm. It used to be lovely to run down it. You were right in the middle of Wellington Centre, but get up at shopping. Gee.
Yeah, give you a workout.
There was a bus that used to go around that we couldn't be bothered waiting for.
No.
You can imagine Derek running up there, my God.
Yeah, definitely.
He wouldn't walk anywhere, would he?
No. So you were there a few years then before Granda proposed?
We weren't going to get engaged. Yeah, we weren't going to get engaged. No, we were just going to get married. Mm. And then again, it was the accommodation bugbear. Oh. We couldn't afford to buy, and we kept looking and looking and looking, you know. And the years go on, don't they? Mm. I was quite happy then. Yeah. So all right.
You mean it was the accommodation thing that made you think about getting married?
Yeah, you have to find somewhere to live.
To live there with Grandad?
Yeah. So, and one Christmas he hoops up with a couple of, a bottle of wine, I think it was, and 2 wine glasses in his pocket.
Oh. So you're flat?
Yeah, we wouldn't go and get engaged. He said, yeah. He said, yeah, so waited so long. So that was it. Then it was too
Did
big.
he get on one knee?
Pardon?
Did he get down on one knee?
No.
What, and the ring was too big?
The ring was too big, and of course all the shops there used to shut 6 o'clock, so they had to hoop down and leave it there. They had to do, make it smaller.
And that was the Christmas time.
Christmas time,
yeah. And then when did you get married then? What month did you, in June you married?
Married in June, I was 21.
Okay.
Nice day, it was nice and bright, but very cold because it's so winter there.
Oh, is it? In June?
Seasons are opposite.
Yeah.
It was his birthday.
Oh, it was Granddad's birthday, yeah.
Granddad's birthday,
yeah. Did you plan that especially?
That's what he wanted to do, you know. We thought, right, we'll do it on that day. It was a Saturday, I think, as well. And we got married 9:30 in the morning or so.
That's really early.
That is early.
And who came? Did all your friends come to the wedding?
Yeah, we had this cathedral, and there, can you imagine?
I've seen some of the pictures.
2.5
people. With the 30, Nana? I'm sure you remember. I'm sure you said there was 30 people, wasn't there?
Yeah. Came to reception. I don't know how many were at the church. Yeah. Yeah. They did it really well. They did the Grand Hotel. We didn't know what to expect, but they certainly did it well. Yeah, they really did. Then I think it got rain in the afternoon. I can't remember. Yeah, it was a nice bright morning anyway. Chris.
So you had a meal together afterwards.
Yeah, we had the reception. And then you've got to entertain your guests all day, really. So in the evening, I think the older ones went to film, and the younger ones went to the nightclub or cabaret. Because we weren't there, we'd gone off. I was tired.
It's a long day, wasn't it?
Not only that, I mean, so early in the morning, you know. And there's Pat saying, we've got to lift the beds up and we've got to do this because everybody will be coming back here. And I thought, oh dear God.
So you had people back to the flat then?
I wasn't intending to at all. But Pat kept asking people and they started all traipsing up these steps. I said, what did you do with them all? Trevor was laughing. He said, you bring all these people, you've got a massive kettle into a small teapot, you know. Oh, I'm sorry. I said, I'm really sorry.
Oh.
So everyone for the flats were invited. So when they came up, they all scattered round. And I think Maris, they were hungry, so Maris got them all peeling potatoes. And
it's funny that her name was Maris and she had them peeling potatoes.
Maris Piper, yeah. She organised it all, yeah, had them all working. And they had a big meet and then they went off doing their thing, the film and nightclub in the evening.
Oh.
We should have stayed, we'd enjoyed it,
yeah. Oh.
Yeah, Grandad got this flat, so that's how we got married,
yeah. And then must have been a couple of years then before Dad was born. Then if he was born, 58 was he born?
56 we got married, 57 Janice was born.
Oh, Janice was born first, wasn't
57, Dad was 58.
Yeah. Shall you leave it there for now?
A lot.
That's good.
You've had the whole book there.
Thanks.
More than I've written even.